Good Miniature Monday, my friends. Rodge here, aka the Wisco Horn Dog. You can see that the home basement renovation continues. We've been exiled deeper into the darkest recesses of the Rodge family basement here. The storage room. You can see the trash can light box up over there in that corner, along with various hobby supplies stored back here. But it is Monday, and Good Miniature Monday must continue nonetheless. So we are persevering onwards. Today, who are the Magnificent Bastards? Well, that's a good question. If you've been following me or a friend of mine for some time, you may very well know the answer to that question. If you just found me recently through YouTube, Saga Thursday, or Twitter, something like that, you might not be familiar with the Magnificent Bastards. And you might be wondering why there's always a link to the Magnificent Bastards in my description below. Well, let us explore the origins of the Bastards. The tale begins over a decade ago in 2007, the golden days of the Warhammer tournament scene, some might say. There weren't too many other game systems out there yet, and the internet was bringing everybody together, and there was these independent grand tournaments springing up left and right. And the biggest one in all the land was the Hillbilly tournament in Arkansas, and this had been going on for some time, but it was one of the biggest, over 100 players, maybe 120, 180, something like that. And it was well renowned across the land. And the boys from Wisconsin, headed up by Mr. Tommy Back, he was a Warhammer fan back then, decided to put together a crew of stalwart individuals to head down there and play some Warhammer and represent the Wisconsin Warhammer scene. And it was Mr. Tommy Back himself who christened us the Magnificent Bastards. And that's the first time we used that name. And we headed on down there. There's a big group of us. We took a van. It was like a 17-hour drive from Milwaukee. And I had to drive 4 hours to get to Milwaukee. So it was a 21-hour trip for me to get down there. And it was a good time. We had fun. It was a blast, so much so that we returned a year later in 2008. And it had moved to Memphis, Tennessee at that point. So it was only a 18-hour trip instead of a 21-hour trip. So 3 hours saved. Happy with that. And that year was the year of the Rodge. I brought Dogs of War, and I won the whole damn thing, cementing the place of the Magnificent Bastards in Warhammer history. But after that, the Bastards went dormant for a while. The Hillbilly went defunct, or kind of changed hands. We never went down again. Tommy Back himself stopped playing Warhammer, and we got other things going. The Point Hammer podcast started, and we kind of lost track of the Magnificent Bastards. However, it was August of 2011 that the Bastards were to resurface once again. And this was a time, the golden age of blogs, one might say. Well, if you're going to talk about miniature gaming, you got to have somewhere to post pics of all your models, as well as helpful articles and stuff like that. And at this time, I did have a blog. It was the rodgelodge.com, but wasn't updated very often. It is tough painting models, let alone taking pictures of them and posting them in a timely fashion. And several pals of mine were also in the same boat. Mr. Domus, who had a blog, I think it was domuspoor.com, and Rob Fanuff, who was Retro Alias, on .blogspot, I think. And these two guys also had blogs, and we all used the Blogger software, and there was a way that you could import, export blogs, but you could actually, if you wanted to, kind of combine all the blogs into one. And I thought this was a great idea because we all were bloggers that did the blogging thing, but to have an active blog, it's tough for one person. So between the group of us, we figured that we could do this. I approached them. They were receptive to the idea. Well, Tommy Back was back on the Warhammer scene, just, I think, dipping his toe. He didn't stick around for long, but the reappearance of that fellow kind of gave the kernel to the idea of the Magnificent Bastards, and I registered youmagnificentbastards.com, and set everything up. We exported, imported, and we combined the blogs together. And at that time, I created this fun little image, and you can see, if you know what we look like, everybody's there. It's myself, Domus, Mr. Rob Fanoff. We brought in Johnny from the Point Hammer podcast. There's Tommy. In the background, you can see Bear as a Sasquatch, another Point Hammer podcaster. And then the question mark there, which to this day there is still a question mark. But at that time, the intent was it was going to be Tom McClure, who also had a blog, but he never really got around to doing everything that he needed to. He's got 4 kids. So we were like, well, we're going to launch it, and then afterwards you can catch up, we'll reveal you. But even though I think it took a couple years, he actually did get on the blog, and we have all his information on there, but I never went back and updated. I thought this was kind of funny just to leave this on there. So shortly after we launched, we actually picked up a couple other chaps. Relian from Twitter, he had a blog going back in the day, quite a prolific one. So we incorporated everything of his into it. And then also Ryan Nickel, who is a great Warhammer player, and he's got some great models as well. So these were kind of the glory days of the blog, 2011, 2012. I think some of our most hits and stuff are back from that time when we're all still kind of posting. After that, the original posters kind of started to peter out. They sort of moved more to Twitter for their hobby needs, and I can see why. It's more of a social experience. You get immediate feedback, and it's kind of the natural progression of things. For me, using a blog, I do like it in some aspects, especially for posting pictures of models and stuff like that, because it's always easy to go back and find old Army pics and stuff like that. So I've continued to use the blog during that time, and we'll come up with articles and stuff. And then over the years, we've actually added quite a few more Magnificent Bastards. Such fellows as John Kerr and Dennis Gunya were with us for a bit, and then we added Nobrolian and Kevin Bruns. Those guys have access, and they put together a few articles in their time. And then we brought in the remainder of the handsome Point Boys at the time. It would be Michael Butcher, Andrew Simons, Matt Jajak. Brought the Bear back in for a bit there. But overall, I think there are currently 16 people who have access to the blog and can actually update and post stuff whenever they want. And to this day, I'm still posting stuff, all my pictures of models and stuff. It's still the best place for me right now. I did start up WiscoHorndog.com as part of the Saga Thursday podcast project, so I might put some gallery images on there. But for now, the blog is still the best place to find images of my stuff. I know Johnny is quite prolific with all his postings on there, and then Ryan Nickel as well. And then just in the last couple months, there's been sort of a little mini resurgence here. I've been posting all my YouTube links up there, so there's been some daily activity. I've been painting a lot more stuff, so those have been posted on there. And then I've reconnected with some of the old bastards, and we're getting some regular updates on the site. So if you haven't checked it out yet, head on over to youmagnificentbastards.com. But our story isn't quite done there. Mr. Tommy Back, as I mentioned several times, was a key figure in the blog and the name, and we are heading over to Twinfinity in Minneapolis, and we are recreating the Magnificent Bastards team, basically just a few of us from Wisconsin. So we are once again fighting under that banner. Hopefully I can get some of that lucky mojo I had back in 2008 and rock some buttholes at Twinfinity. But other than that, I think we're going to kick it over to our weekly hobby segment. I hope you enjoyed that history of the Magnificent Bastards. On the hobby desk this week, I've actually made some pretty good progress on my models as compared to last week. That's even with my big Saga Thursday project finally coming to completion, which if you didn't know about that, the Saga Thursday is my Thursday show about Saga, and I finally got it over into a podcast format as well, which required a lot of web work, a a lot of cutting and pasting, uploading RSS feeds and stuff like that. So that has taken up a lot of my time over the last couple of weeks. And finally got that done. So I've been working on this red fryer here. You can see this chick is positively glowing with those yellows. And all I have left to do is the gun, her face, and that cloak. So I'm really happy about that. And then on a Rincho, the Bushido model, this bro here, you can see he's got some ink wash on there. I think he had that last week, but I finally got his little straw outfit. Did some dry brushing, some highlighting, some ink in there, and that's looking pretty good. And I should both of these this week. That's really not that much, so I'm pretty pumped about that. As far as participation among the audience, we've got Bubbles here with a Hakislam sniper. You can see this is actually a finished model, but in the theme of last week, he's going back to finish the rifle. He didn't like how they turned out. It looks pretty cool to me, but more power to you, buddy. I can see the camo pattern on his cloak there, which is just kind of teased in that photo. It looks pretty badass. I would love to see a full picture of that. If you could take a back photo when you submit everything, Bubs, that would be super awesome. I haven't received any photos as of the recording of this video, but hopefully you can get that in by Monday. If not, please post them anyways. We're just trying to get these models done any way that we can. And if you want to set a challenge for yourself for next week, post below, and if you can hopefully finish it, I will share your success in next week's episode. And if you're enjoying these videos, please share with a friend. I really appreciate that, and I also appreciate those who have subscribed and shared already. And I think that is about it for this week. Why don't you guys keep on hobby horn dogging, and I'll see you guys next Monday.